This program is sponsored by Emerson.
Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Pride Summer Week, the 010 edition. Tonight with Pride and Politics, a specific subject with two guests that I'm really proud that they are here. Chantal, what's the show tonight about and who are our guests?
We will speak about LGBTQ plus rights in Europe and in the Netherlands, and also in the east of Europe. It's very interesting at this moment, I think.
Well, very actual with Ukraine and the situation in Russia.
Yes. We have Boris Dittrich. He is a Dutch politician of the Democrat Party. And he's also a jurist, author and a human rights activist. And he's a member of the Senate in the Netherlands. The Netherlands, yes.
A role model, actually, because he's one of the founding fathers of gay marriage in the Netherlands, which was the first.
Yeah, more than 20 years ago. Yeah. And also we have Kim van Sparrentak, and she is a Dutch politician who is serving as a member of the European Parliament.
And a friend of the show because she was here last year.
Yes, and we love her. Yeah.
That's going to be an interesting show, right?
I think so.
Let's go to the couch?
Yes.
So there we are, Pride and Politics. Welcome to our guests. I'm very honored. Boris Dittrich, thank you for being here. And
my pleasure.
And Kim van Sparrentak, friend of the show, we can say.
Yeah.
Second time around. Thank you for being here. So, politics. I read this week, or last month, sorry. I read this last month about the index and the position of the Netherlands on the LGBTIQ plus rights. I always say the only way is up, but that wasn't so for the index, right? We went from position 12 in Europe to 13. What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think? What do we think? Yeah.
Well, I follow these indexes every year, actually. Yeah. What is good about it is that it might stimulate the Dutch public, but also Dutch politicians, to compete with other countries on the way up. So to introduce more legislation, to change policies so that discrimination will be... But unfortunately, that doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, well,
so, I feel a bit ashamed, actually, that we are so low on the list. The reputation of the Netherlands is always that we are front runners on LGBTI plus issues, but that's not really the case. So hopefully, I try to give it a positive spin, and hopefully next year we have climbed a few steps.
And of course, it's not about the index. I mean, we're all aware of that, I think so. But the image in Europe is still that the Netherlands is progressive and that we are on top with the LGBTIQ plus rights. And I agree what you say, maybe politicians get motivated or stimulated by this, but it's been now for a few years that we're tumbling down.
I think it's important to look at the reasons why. And it's not because we went per se backwards in equal legislation. The reason that we went one step down on the index is first of all because there's an increase in hate in the Netherlands, an increase in hate speech, also for example from the political side, unfortunately. And the second reason is that we have been stagnating. There's no new legislation, or hardly any new legislation. And of course it's because we had some conservative parties in the government that blocked progress. But those are the reasons, and I think, if the fact that it's stagnation, that we are going down, that's definitely a reason for politicians to step up their game.
But on the other hand, there are some new law proposals. For instance, we are changing the constitution, and sexual orientation is now a new ground for non-discrimination. It's in Article 1 of our constitution, which will give us, something to look forward to. Yeah. And the second thing is that there are several political parties who are introducing now a ban on conversion therapy in the Netherlands, and we follow the lead actually of several other European countries. But I think that's also very important. so that we show that also in politics we are aware. I'm a politician, I'm a senator. We are aware that we need to step up in order to help people in the country, because that's what...
I think that's, well, the one thing that I'm very proud of that you're in the show. There's someone from the Dutch Senate and someone from the European Parliament, and that are actively and concerned about the LGBTIQ plus rights. It starts with one person, right?
I like challenges, and because I'm a gay man myself, I think it's very important to fight for LGBT rights. I must admit that when I was a member of parliament in the Netherlands, I didn't know so much about transgender people. At the time, one didn't talk about that. So while working for Human Rights Watch, I really have discovered how awful life can be for transgender people in many countries. Many of those societies are very homophobic, usually induced by religion, sometimes from the West, export of homophobia from the United States, for instance. But you also see that politicians, when elections are coming up, the easiest scapegoat is the LGBT community. So every time when elections are coming up, there is a politician talking about the danger of homosexuals, and then they don't have to talk about corruption or poverty or all kind of other important issues.
Something you said triggered me, the word hate. Do you mean the polarization within the politics, or how did you mean the hate?
It's a combination of everything, and of course, if there's hate speech happening in a parliament, that trickles down to all of the society, unfortunately. Of course, it's not only something we only see in the Netherlands, we see it everywhere, and indeed, we also see, of course, an increase in hate speech online, for example, because the algorithms make sure that that is the thing that is promoted the most. So these are all things that we have to take into account. But yeah, there is an increase, and that is also a general thing you see all over Europe. When the Rainbow Index came out, that was actually one of the main findings, is that there's more hate speech, and also, unfortunately, that also leads to more violence in society.
On the other side, you see with the new generation, we had Pride and Gender this week, we had Pride in Sports. You see the open-mindedness and the more. We had last month the professional soccer player in the UK coming out, which for me was like a big thing. Finally, someone from
in
soccer.
Europe?
A political question. So, do you think that maybe in politics, you say there's a big polarization, and like I just said, I don't see that directly when I talk to the new generation. Do you think that maybe that is again the gap between politics and the public?
Well, I think there is, in the Netherlands in any case, but maybe also in Europe, there is a big divide, and people don't trust politicians because people are over-promising and under-delivering, and the people understand that, of course. And I think that politicians then try to compensate by shouting, screaming, saying terrible things against each other, because they feel that then they gain votes and that they are close to the public. But I believe that the public really knows that if you vote for somebody, you want to vote for somebody who could really deliver and could really meet his promises. And so therefore I think there is still a gap between politicians, because many of them are shouting and screaming, but it doesn't lead to anything.
It's like the biggest problem in France, I understood, is that every new president is promising, and then at the end, by the system they have to choose the best out of the two worst.
But I also think when we're talking about the new generation, right? Like last week or some weeks ago, I was on my old high school, and I'm from Zeeland. I'm from the Bible Belt. It's not the most progressive.
Very well known in the world. And we have New Zealand.
Yes, and this is Old Zealand.
Yeah,
it's
Old
even
Zealand.
more exciting. But it's not the most progressive area of the Netherlands. The Bible Belt starts there. Yes, we have a Bible Belt. And I went there, and my high school has now a zebrapad, so a rainbow zebra crossing to walk into the school.
Wow.
They have a gay-straight alliance, and when I told them about my life and my work, and I told them that I have a girlfriend, afterwards a lot of 13-year-olds came to me like, oh my god, I'm also in the
really?
LGBTI community, and I'm like, they're 13. It's this is amazing, but we have to be honest.
It's a different
Most
world,
people in politics are, you know, closer perhaps to Boris' age than to my age. I don't want to call you old, but I mean it is.
No,
but it is, you know, of course, the
fact
case.
is a fact.
In fact, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And especially in the European Parliament, there are a lot of very old people. So it also takes time before we can, you know, change the way these people look. And we just also need just more representation in politics and more young people in politics.
Yeah, and I think people also need good examples. I remember when I started with same-sex marriage in the Netherlands, this was in the last century, people said this is not possible, nowhere in the world people can get married. And once you achieve something, it was a collective approach, of course, with many MPs, then all of a sudden people change their minds because they cannot really envision that something is possible unless they see it. And that really helped in a way to show people, hey, there is equality, equal rights is something which is very important and we can achieve it. On the other hand, the LGBT community was so focused on same-sex marriage that when it was achieved, everybody was tired and it was like...
It's like the sprint I just said, that's why all the energy went into the same-sex marriage.
Exactly, and slowly it was picking up again. But I think it's important that people can really see that something can change if you believe in something and if you fight for it and if you do it together. So that would be my message.
And I also think, but I also think that, you know, what you have done is now an example for people in other countries, and they have learned from your fight and your efforts. And now they are fighting for the same, and I think that is something very special. And
that's why the index, we come back to the index, is so important, because then we see that in another country they are doing something which we haven't done yet in the Netherlands, and then we say, okay, we will take their example. So we help each other in Europe to get better.
And are there any examples in other countries?
That we can take
Well, I mentioned the ban on conversion therapy. I know because I've spoken to people who underwent conversion therapy in the Netherlands, even in Rotterdam. There was this young guy from a Turkish background who was really forced, even got injected with medication. Terrible things happen also in this country. And so we really need to fight for that. And then we can look at other countries where conversion therapy ban has been introduced for minors. And so, yeah, we take their example.
Well, last year we had a guest who, when he came out as a young boy, his parents tried to convert him. So I know that it's still here, but what I don't understand is, are there anywhere in the political playfield parties in this country that say, oh no, we don't support that?
The ban, you mean?
Yeah.
I hope. Okay,
Yeah, well, because it's a quite complicated discussion. There are religious parties who say, yeah, but where does the ban lead to? Can we pray together with somebody who is doubtful about his or her sexual orientation or gender identity? Can we pray together to, you know, get released of all those problems? And they are afraid that this will be an infringement on the freedom of religion. So that is really a debate which we need to have.
Yeah, what is therapy and what is only praying?
Exactly. And there are grown-ups who really go to a therapist. Well, we know that this is just bullshit, but they go there, and these therapists, they make money, and so they go there, and then you can say, well, you're a grown-up. If you want to spend your money on yourself like that, why should politics say, okay, this should be banned? So in the Netherlands, we are aiming for a ban for minors.
Yeah.
Which countries do have that ban?
Well, for instance, Malta. Malta is very high up on the ladder, on the index. I believe in the UK, also in Germany. So
Belgium,
there are
they're
some.
very close.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Having one,
And in other parts of the world as well. I mean, it's not only in Europe, of course.
And is there another, because I'm a profound European, I'm sorry, maybe I am, is there another possibility that you can arrange this through European law?
Actually, the European Green Party.
Country?
Actually, the European Green Party is trying to make to get a full ban in all of Europe on conversion therapy, because of course what you might see is that people then are sent to another country to do it. So better
yeah,
to have it
that's-
covered everywhere.
Yeah, that will be the solution. But as a national member of parliament, I must say that we think we can do best for our country,
Yeah.
and everything from Brussels, we have to just look at it carefully.
Yeah.
The things we can do ourselves as national parliaments, we like to keep that. But this is a good example, because if then somebody moves to another country where you can have conversion therapy, then you don't solve the problem.
Yeah.
And maybe you can say as a European Union, okay, let's do the base legally. I'm not really a politician, and then the details will go to the
But you need unanimity for that.
Yeah.
And I presume that a country like Hungary or Poland
yeah.
will not agree.
It's always those two names, right? Because last year you expressed exactly the same two countries.
Yeah.
Well, a year later we have the situation, the terrible situation with Russia invaded Ukraine in February. Did that change the point of view of Poland and Hungary, maybe towards LGBTIQ plus rights, you think?
No, because Hungary is actually more on the side of Putin. The law he introduced is basically a copy-paste law from Russia.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, in Hungary you really don't see any change, and
Poland?
in Poland they're not really discussing it right now. So I guess they didn't change it. At least they changed their policy towards refugees. Refugees are welcome, so that's something, and we're already very happy with that.
But only
because,
refugees from Ukraine, I
yeah,
think.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
get too crazy.
No.
No
Of
Syrians,
course.
no Afghans.
No, unfortunately, and also for Roma people, it's very difficult. And of course, the situation is, they're welcoming people, but they still have this anti-LGBTI zones. They still have, of course, also you're also, for example, not allowed to have abortion. There's no proper health care for trans people who get there. It's very hard for trans people to even cross the border because their gender expression doesn't match,
in the
their
passport,
sex in the passport.
Yeah.
So
That's a
there's
positive thing we have in the Netherlands, right? That's
Yes.
possible now.
Yes, that's right, and it's crucial. It's crucial for these kind of situations. You just know, but in general, it's of course crucial. But for these kind of situations, it really shows how important it is.
But talking about Ukraine, I remember I was allowed to open the gay pride there. I think it was 2013 or 14. And we had to be protected by military and police.
Yeah.
And there was this opposition also on the streets, shouting, screaming, throwing things. There is so much hatred within Ukraine itself against LGBTI plus people.
Which is really strange, remembering the Eurovision Song Contest last month, and the president immediately shouting, "We're gonna host the song contest next year." I don't mean bad, but I was thinking in which building, but that sounds opposite from the LGBTIQ
Well, maybe
plus rights, right?
President Zelensky is maybe more open-minded, could very well be, but on the street in Kiev, it was horrible, and the LGBTI people that were there from Ukraine didn't even dare to participate in the Pride March. So we were only with 100 people or something, and so I think it's very important, of course, to support Ukraine and against Russia, but we shouldn't forget that there is a lot of discrimination in the country, and we should address that. And so I'm not very favorable for a very fast membership of Ukraine in the EU. I think we should really work together with them in order that they will change their laws and policies.
This is, well, that's, I mean, Hungary, Poland, we talked about it last year. If you want to be part of the European Union, please support all the laws and everything that we have agreed upon. The same goes for Ukraine. Do you think that maybe the little signal about the Eurovision Song Contest is supporting President Zelensky's wish to become part of the European Union, or is that a really bad policy?
I'm looking at you as member of the European Parliament.
I'm sure we will not be podcasting Ukraine now, but
no, I mean I find it very interesting that Poland was giving a lot of points to Ukraine as well, and I was wondering whether they wanted to use that politically. But I think Eurovision, you know, we know it's political.
Yeah.
I mean, they won, and I still don't think they had the best song. Although you know, I think they won with a good song, but it wasn't the best song. I'm quite a fan, and you know. Anyway, but I think it is something that will always, you know, have this LGBTI tone to it, and I think it is very interesting to see whether that happens in a positive way or not.
Yeah.
But I believe it will help if the Eurovision Song Contest will be held in Ukraine, to show the world that Ukraine is part of Eurovision, part of the Western world.
Agree.
Although there are also, of course, Central European countries participating. But I don't see that it necessarily will change the basic feeling of people of being afraid of LGBT people or being aggressive against them. That really needs a more thorough discussion than singing a song.
Yeah, and I think we have to realize, you know, that the propaganda that Russia is using to say, oh, this is the reason why we have invaded Ukraine, a very big part is also homophobic and anti-LGBTI. They're saying we invaded Ukraine because they're part of the West, and the West are bringing the gays, basically, if you say it in short.
Remember the image of
exactly.
going to the West and going to Russia.
Exactly. So, and this is propaganda that they've been using in Russia, but of course the same propaganda has also been spread in Ukraine. We see it happening in Eastern Europe. There's a lot of money going into the spread of this anti-gender, anti-LGBTI movement that is spreading all over. So it's also not purely coincidental.
No, exactly.
That the people
and
in
actually
Ukraine
it
are
was
not that.
also the reason why Turkey decided not to participate anymore, because they thought it was too LGBTI friendly.
Yeah.
And so there is still homophobia in the world, and we see it everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and talking about being unanimous, we see that a lot also with Turkey, with the new NATO members wannabe.
Finland
and
Sweden.
What would for you be the next step coming back to the Netherlands in progression? Like you just addressed the first same-sex marriage. We were the first country. We're still sort of having our image on that one big thing. What would be a next big thing for the Netherlands to do, according to both of you?
Well, we just finalized the changing of the constitution. We have the conversion ban. They're actually, what I think is most important, but it's not something politicians can do by themselves, is that in society, when two men or two women kiss each other in public or walk hand in hand on the street, that there is no hatred anymore, and that it's just accepted as normal, and it is normal. So that we should really focus on that.
Do you walk hand in hand with your girlfriend?
Yeah, I am, but there are not so many girls I know who can do that.
And then in the school system, I almost forgot, you know, bullying. The most used swear word is gay, homo. And there are so many young people who are still lonely and think they're the only one, and they need protection, but they cannot find it with their parents and not in school. So we really need, in society, we really need to address these issues.
A long way to go then.
Yeah.
But
I think there's another thing that we really have to do, and that is we have to make the Netherlands better for trans people.
Yeah.
Trans healthcare situation is very bad.
If you look at the index of only the trans, we're number 29.
Yes, we're really not doing well, and there's really a lot of things that we have to do. And I think first, at least, the basic healthcare has to really be improved,
and no waiting lists,
and no waiting lists, and making sure that people get the help they need if they suffer from gender dysphoria, for example. And also really making sure that, you know, all the legal systems aren't that difficult anymore, because it's really complicated right now to change certain things, and you know, it shouldn't be a struggle to just be who you are.
Boris has to go in 2 minutes, so ask your last question to him.
For me, for my generation, I'm the oldest one here, I think, you were one of the role models, if I can say, as an activist for rights for the LGBTIQ plus community. Thank you for that. I'm part of my health. What is pride for you?
Well, that's a wonderful question, because pride means, for me, it means a lot for people in other countries. I remember I was working in Cameroon, for instance, and then they said, oh, we have to show you something. So they showed on the computer a part of Pride in Amsterdam, and they said, we would love to live in a country where you are celebrated because you are LGBT, and not that people are shouting and screaming at you and throw you in jail. And so I think pride also gives a lot of hope and a lot of pleasure and a lot of positive energy that people can aspire to in situations where they are not in such a situation. So
which for
me that is pride, because in the Netherlands, you know, pride is more partying, but human rights are so important, and I believe that we can show the rest of the world also that there is a way forward.
And knowing that partying has a deeper meaning, and we should be aware of that. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
But I really have to go.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you so much.
While we do that, we're gonna listen to
a song.
We have artists this time, Kim.
Oh,
so
wow.
while we do that, let's look at the talent of today. He's the only one this week that's going to perform a song in Dutch. Well, we saw last month at Eurovision that that's a new trend. So give it up for Dillenburg with Jaloers. I'm very happy that you're here. I just explained to our guests that you're going to sing in Dutch. And I'm very proud of that, because we saw last month Steen doing a Dutch song at Eurovision, so it's sort of a trend, singing in the language of your own country. Can you tell something what you're doing right now? What are you up to?
Right now I'm back in the studio. I released my last EP September.
What's it named?
It's called Boy van de Liefde. In English, which means Boy of Love.
Yeah.
Right? And because I sing about love. I can't help it. It's like the #1 priority in life, right?
Everything is love, right?
Everything is love.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can explain everything in love.
And people can find you on Spotify.
Definitely.
Dillenburg, we will put it on the screen because it's Dutch, so maybe it's a little bit difficult.
Spotify, Instagram, everywhere. Just check me out.
Go follow this guy because he makes beautiful music. I'm very proud that you're here. Welcome to Rotterdam, welcome to the Skyline.
Thank you.
And let's give some love.
Thank you, thank you. I hope y'all enjoy the Dutch language too.
Dillenburg.
This song is called Jaloers. Soms zeg ik dingen die ik echt niet meen. En jij maakt van elk klein ding een probleem. Laat ze maar praten zonder een idee. Wij weten beter, yeah, yeah. Soms drink ik echt wel een glaasje te veel. En jouw aansteker staat geen moment even stil. Hun mening staat klaar, vinden ons veel te speels. Wij weten beter, yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, kom je met me mee, dan doen we het net als toen. Ik haal je op om 12:30, we blijven weg tot 's morgens vroeg. Anders dan iedereen, doen we wat wij goed doen. Wat ze ook zeggen, baby, zij zijn alleen maar jaloers. Zij zijn alleen maar... Ik haal de Passat en jij roept jouw Chanel. Hey. Kijk die reacties, die volgen zo snel. Want wat wij hebben, dat willen zij voor zichzelf. Ja, wij weten beter, yeah, yeah. Op het terras nog een dansje of 2. Oh, en we eindigen helemaal naakt in de zee. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wij vieren het leven en iedereen weet. Wij weten beter, wij weten beter, yeah, yeah. Oh, baby, kom je met me mee, dan doen we het net als toen. Ik haal je op om 1:30, we blijven weg tot 's morgens vroeg. Anders dan iedereen, doen we wat wij goed doen. Wat ze ook zeggen, baby, zij zijn alleen maar. Baby, kom je met me mee. Ik haal je op om 1:30, we blijven weg tot 's morgens vroeg. Anders dan iedereen, doen we wat wij goed doen. Want wat ze ook zeggen, baby, zij zijn alleen maar motherfucking jaloers. Zij zijn alleen maar jaloers. Hey. Zij zijn alleen maar jaloers. Give it up for Mark Bean on guitar, y'all.
And I love the fact that he sang in Dutch. Don't you agree?
Yes, it was really
So,
nice.
jaloers, jealous. Well, we're here together with the three of us on the couch. Feels familiar after last year. I was very happy that Boris Dittrich was here.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Role model as a child.
Yeah, for me too.
And we just spoke about Ukraine. I think it's a difficult situation with the wanting to be part of the European Union. The whole situation with Ukraine is difficult.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And I have a question about that because during the war in Ukraine, it's more unsafe for LGBTQ plus people. You told us something about that some minutes ago. And what can we do for these people in Europe?
Well, there's a lot of things we can do on every level, of course. On the one hand, we can show specific support to the LGBTI community as a community ourselves. There's quite a lot of humanitarian organizations on the ground that are helping people from the LGBTI community. They're arranging buses so they can go to countries where they feel safe. They're arranging shelters where there are specific, the specific needs that they have, that they are accommodated. And they also make sure that, there are places where they can get together and share their experiences. And I think that is very important. So we also, as a European Parliament, called on the Commission to make sure that there's more funding, but you can also support them.
But specifically for the LGBTIQ plus rights
Yes.
in Ukraine?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow.
During the war, but also for the people who have fled, to make sure that, for example, there's the right medication for trans people available after they fled. There are organizations that are making sure that is there for them.
It will be ironic that they will have that sorted out faster than we have in the Netherlands. But let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And maybe Boris is right about the Eurovision Song Contest attracting more positive attention for the rights there. Do you agree that maybe also, because we were talking about what can we do as politicians, what can we do from legislation, what should we do as public? Do you agree that companies play a role in that as well? Because we're going to show you shortly a clip of a company that is an example for starting their diversity policy and not only naming it as a marketing tool, but actually doing something. It's a company in a little town near here, Rijswijk, Emerson. Let's look at the tape first.
Everyone is welcome at Emerson, regardless of their religion, sexual preference, or any other background. For example, I got accepted, and looking at each other's qualities, it enlarged the creation of a safe environment for everybody. And a project is viewed differently from everybody's unique background, whereby surprising and creative results can be achieved.
Within Emerson, we have Women Impact Network to promote science, technology, engineering, and maths activity among children and young people, such as Girls' Day, where many students came to visit our company. In addition, one of our Emerson goals is to double the number of women in management positions in Emerson by 2030.
Emerson's strategy is focused on diversity, equity and inclusion. It has gained more and more attention in the past years, and it's become really a part of our corporate culture. We organize managing unconscious bias training, reflection sessions where people can talk about their experiences. We also have employee resource groups like Women's Impact Network, like the LGBTQ plus allies group, and they regularly receive dedicated attention such as a diversity day.
So, well, that was a company that has this diversity and inclusion right in order. It's so nice to see that more and more companies all over Europe are implementing this into their strategy and mission statements. Nice company. Go work there. So I think that's a beautiful example we just saw of a company in the Netherlands that doesn't only speak about diversity but takes action, and also on the rights of transgender people.
Yeah, I think it's crucial, and I think it is sometimes quite cringy how far companies dare to go with so-called pinkwashing, right? Just to say, oh look, we're on a pride here, and then when you ask if they even have someone who tries to make sure people feel safe in the company, they're like, what are you even talking about? Or for example, when you ask, do you have parental leave? Also, if you know there's a same-sex couple who are having children together, oh, is that a thing, you know? So I think it is very important we stay critical, and we indeed uplift examples that are actually people that are doing the work, companies that are doing the work. Yeah. Then they also deserve the credits.
Yeah, and Emerson is in whole Europe. They have companies.
It's an international company. The USA, it's a large company, so it's not just, and it doesn't matter how big the company is. And
no,
it starts,
yeah.
Change starts with little things, but I'm happy that this is a big company that starts. Last year we talked about what change can also be. If you haven't seen us last year, you can well, look back at it at the YouTube channels.
Of course,
RTV.
In Dutch.
We had a nice moment with a crocodile.
Yes.
Which can be a small step for LGBTIQ plus people, but a large step for one person. I will explain. There is a book that you addressed to in the European Parliament that you read to your niece about a crocodile. And that crocodile could be whoever you want it to be.
When my niece was born, I gave her a picture book called Filola Wants a Crocodile. In this book, Filola's mums go out on a mission to find her a crocodile for her birthday. Mums, yes, because I want her to know that having a gay aunt isn't something to be embarrassed of, but can give you a life full of adventures. In Hungary, from tomorrow onwards, this is a crime, because it's forbidden to teach children about different sexualities and identities. And I've heard the Commission say over and over, this is not in line with European values. So do something about it. Launch an accelerated infringement procedure, freeze EU funds, make use of all the tools you have. But I'm also calling on the member states to act, because you have been bystanders, while bill after bill has diminished the rights of our community, and not only in Hungary and Poland. But using our community as a distraction to undermine the rule of law will not change who we are or who we love. Our community is strong, and we will continue to fight for our rights together. Thank you.
Before this show, I talked to your spokeswoman, Meerte. Amazing. Hello, Meerte. And I asked about the crocodile. And what did you do, to my surprise, because I didn't ask that?
I brought the book.
Yes.
Yeah, where's the book?
I don't
It's downstairs?
It's downstairs.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Because I have a pile of it at home, and I give it to every family that has a newborn, or to people who really deserve to read the book about Filola and the crocodile.
Thank you very much. But for me, it's symbolic, and also for you. That's why you addressed to it in the European Parliament. And although I am very honest, I want to make this step from the program as well. And maybe it's small, but if you are someone that wants to make a change to the next generation, and you have a niece or a nephew or all in between, or a son or a daughter, or it doesn't matter, and you want this book, is it in Dutch?
It is in Dutch, yeah.
and you don't speak Dutch, we translate it for you. Go to our social media page, Pride Summerweek on Instagram. Leave us a message under the social media post we're going to make after the show, and why you want this book. And I will make sure that the book comes to you, and if you don't speak Dutch, it will be translated, and make that change. Tell us about the crocodile. Thank you,
Yay,
Kim, for bringing that.
So
That was just a little side story.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
I'm a crocodile lover.
It's a great crocodile. She's
Yeah.
wearing a little pink hat. So
Lovely.
So we ask every guest something.
yes. The last question.
Yes.
Ooh, what means pride for you? Oh, pride for me means, yeah, safety in numbers in a way, and it's maybe sounds a bit dramatic, but for me it means that for a lot of people when they go for a pride for the first time, and it was also really my personal experience.
And you've been to a lot.
I've been to some, yeah. Then it's the first time you really see I'm not alone. And there's a lot of people who are like me. And I feel I'm part of a community. And I think that is something so special, and everyone deserves to feel that way.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
Again, we end this show with positivity, right?
Yes, that's important.
And
yeah.
let's go on the index. Boris, we will do the index. We will do a big next step. We will start with a crocodile.
Yes.
Thank you again for being on our host. You're sort of a friend of the show. So if we would do this next year,
Yeah.
will you
Please
come back?
invite me.
Thank
Yes.
We will do that. Of course.
And everyone in Europe, thank you for watching us. See you on the next episode, and let's all be a little bit a crocodile.
Yeah.